Hello, welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina, and welcome to episode 2 of my rock and roll horror series. But before we get to that, I have a few things to talk about. So, the first one I think is very exciting, and that is I am doing a second giveaway. So, I wasn't expecting to do another giveaway so soon, but the author of the last book I did in my series, or the first book, the book is called Season of the Witch, How the Occult Saved Rock and Roll. The author contacted me after seeing my video and was very complimentary about my in-depth reading of his book. And he is offering a signed copy, personalized to whoever wins, to any of my subscribers in the US only. So in order to enter the giveaway, just write giveaway in the comments below and I will choose the winner sometime next week. So it will be sent to you by the author and personalized. And how cool is that? It's a really great book. He sent me a lovely email, which only proves that authors do watch our reviews. Just saying, just something to keep in mind. But I was thrilled to hear from him, and it's really great. So enter to win this lovely book, which I gave 5 stars and highly recommend. But anyway, moving on, I have a little bit of a haul to share with you. First off, I went to my local antique mart, and I was thrilled to see that a horror memorabilia collector had unloaded a bunch of his collection. I mean, there were incredible artifacts there. I was very tempted to spend a lot of money, especially on this animated pinhead figurine. If you want to see pictures of some of the collection, I will link my Instagram below, or just check it out right here. They're also selling this stuff online, and I will link that below. This is my local antique mart. It was a fabulous collection, amazing stuff. But I did treat myself to one thing, and that was an Angus Scrimm autographed photo of course, the infamous Tall Man. It's my favorite horror film, so it will go up on my wall next to my Phantasm poster, and yeah, I just couldn't resist. So yesterday I also went to my local secondhand bookstore, which I visit probably once a month, and bought a few items, which I will share with you. Okay, so this looked interesting. Scissors by Ray Garton. Razor sharp and gut punch brutal. Garton will scare you. Okay, so what's Scissors about? Stuart will never forget the horrible thing Dr. Ferguson did to him when he was a boy. Okay, we can only imagine what that is. The pain, the blood, and the snip snip of those glinting scissors will live in his nightmare for the rest of his life. I'm just getting, circumcision gone bad. I don't know. Something like that. But now Dr. Ferguson is back, and not just in Stuart's dreams. He's very real. He's determined to perform that same horrible procedure on Stuart's young son, and his scissors are nice and sharp. All right, this looks like a fun leisure book read, you know? There's a place for those in my heart. Okay, so like I said, there's not a big horror section in this bookstore, unfortunately, but I did pick up Book 2 of Dean Koontz's Frankenstein series. I think there are only 2 books, maybe 3. I'm not sure, but I have the first one, and I do intend to read this at some point, so I thought, I'll just pick up the second one while I see it for cheap. Then I grabbed a few gothic romances and some other romance books. This bookstore is great, but it's also frustrating because it has this entire section of old Harlequin romance, and I've been looking for the gothic Harlequins, which are hard to find, but there's so much stock in this bookstore that it's like, the shelves are like 3 books deep, and there are cartons of books in the aisles, and you have to kind of push everything away. This is The Trembling Hills by Phyllis A. Whitney. I think I have a few other of her books. This is pretty beat up, but I don't know. It was like, 50 cents or something. So this looks like a fun beach read, when you don't care to mess up the book. And these I picked up. They're not gothic. They're just standard romance, but I just loved the covers. This one's called Maris. She sacrificed her brilliant society wedding to follow her heart. Wow, this is an old book, 1938, that was reissued in the late 60s with this fabulous cover. Sometimes I'm really in the mood to read this type of thing. These are in perfect condition. Here's another one by Grace Livingston Hill, White Orchids. A poor and beautiful girl is swept into a dangerous love affair in the dazzling world of the rich and arrogant. Pretty standard stuff, but it looks really fun. This one I grabbed because I've never read a Barbara Cartland book, and she wrote, I don't know, 50 books a year, some crazy thing like that, and she was related to Princess Diana. In fact, the cover kind of looks like Diana and Charles. I'm thinking of recreating this back cover with me and Lily because it's just too fun. I'm just wondering how much of Diana's obsession with romance books, and particularly Barbara Cartland romance books, led her into that fairy tale marriage that didn't quite turn out that way for her, at least. And now the last one is a Harlequin Gothic romance, which I managed to dig through a pile of stuff, and I'm sure there are more in there. I have to go ready to excavate. You know, I didn't have the right glasses on. I didn't have the right, I wasn't wearing jeans. I couldn't get down and dirty and really dig, but I'm sure if I do, I will find more of these. And they're so hard to find. Some people have told me that in their local thrift stores, charity shops, whatever, they find Gothic romances, but I don't know, where I live, people just didn't read them. So this one is called Double Masquerade by Dulcie Hollyock. That's kind of a nice name. She was unaware of the bizarre web of deceit being spun around her until it made her its target. But anyway, let's get into the main event, which is the second in my rock and roll horror series. So let's just cue the intro. All right, so the book I chose for this second video on rock and roll horror is Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill. This came out in 2007, and I read it maybe 2 years ago, year and a half ago, and really loved it. This story fits into the rock and roll theme in quite a few ways, and I reread a few of the first few chapters just to kind of reacclimate myself to the book, and I started getting pulled right back into it. Aging death metal rock legend Judas Coyne is a collector of the macabre, a cookbook for cannibals, a used hangman's noose, a snuff film. But nothing he possesses is as unique or as dreadful as his latest purchase off the internet, a one-of-a-kind curiosity that arrives at his door in a black heart-shaped box. A musty dead man's suit still inhabited by the spirit of its late owner. And now everywhere Judas Coyne goes, the old man is there, watching, waiting, dangling a razor blade on a chain from his bony hand. The title Heart-Shaped Box, you may know that from a very famous Nirvana song, and I'm sure that was intentional because different sections of the book are named after famous rock and roll songs. So the setup of this book is wonderful because we have the craggy, worn-out, aging rocker who's been, he's seen everything, he's done everything, he's world-weary, he's pretty miserable, he has his wealth and his fans, and he doesn't really have to work. He has his young girlfriend, and the older he's gotten, the younger the girls have gotten, that his companions, kind of like groupies. They don't stay for very long, and he tends to not treat his women very well. He was married, but that didn't work out. And there's a sense of he's just kind of empty inside. I thought Joe Hill did a great job in really creating this character because he's not into the occult the way like a Jimmy Page. Well, he's kind of denying it now, which I saw a video when I was kind of going down that rabbit hole in my last video. I saw a recent video where someone asked him, like at a forum, someone in the audience asked him about his occult interest, and he kind of played it off like, it's just, there was a lot of interesting people in the Golden Dawn, but never mentioning the fact that, you lived at Crawley's house and bought all his manuscripts and probably did a lot of spells. Let's face it, but he's trying to maybe, distance himself from his past, which, I certainly understand. But this guy is not really that interested in it. He kind of just gets into it because it's what you do when you're a rock star. It makes you edgy. he's careless. He's a very careless character. He's careless about what he lets into his life. Like someone gives him the snuff film. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want that anywhere. First of all, I never would watch one, but I would never want that in my home. And he just kind of throws it on the shelf. And there's a really great scene, which is like a flashback early in the book, where his wife, he walks in and she's watching the snuff film. It's a great example of show don't tell, because she's done with this marriage and done with him, and watching this kind of such an ugly scene, and he just seems to be completely flat and unaffected by it, and she's seems flat too. That there's just, it's, this relationship is kind of a symbol of this real emptiness, this deadness of this horrible scene that doesn't even provoke any kind of emotion in this guy. Like he's seen it all. Nothing can really get him worked up anymore, except one thing, which is the inciting incident. So he has and again, the characterization in this book is really great. He has an assistant named Danny, who's this like really like kind of ass kisser is how he's described. And somebody calls him offering this, it's kind of like not eBay, but it's like an auction site online, this haunted suit of clothing, a black suit that looks a lot like something like Johnny Cash would have worn. And his assistant is like, oh, this is something, you've got all this other crazy macabre stuff that you collect. You should have, you can buy a ghost. You want to buy a ghost? And Judas is like, yeah, well, offer $1,000 or something. So he buys the ghost, and it arrives in a heart-shaped box, black, with the suit in it. So it has kind of a creepy presence right off the bat, and he doesn't think anything of it. This is just another one of his, toys. He's bored. He's rich, and he's bored, and he's empty. And then the fireworks begin, I guess you could say, because one night he's in his house and he can't sleep. Oh, he has 2 dogs too, and the dogs are interesting characters in their own right, because they're like familiars. They have a supernatural presence. They're able, well, dogs do, they are able to sense things that we can't. So the dogs are characters in this book. And so is Judas's present girlfriend named Georgia. And it's clever because at first you think, oh, that's just her name, Georgia, until he remembers a girl named Florida. So he would name his women according to the states they were from. Maybe he couldn't remember their names, or just to keep it impersonal, because he knows that eventually he's going to ask these girls to leave. It's like, your time's up, honey. I'm moving on to the next one who's younger. I'm working my way up from Florida up the East Coast. He's not a very likable character. He's very flawed. And, I love flawed characters. Weird things start happening with the suits. So at first, and this is really creepy, it's a great ghost story, because he's up one night, he can't really sleep, and he sees a craggy old man in the suit sitting in the hall. And that would creep anyone out. So then the next morning, Georgia comes in and she's like, that suit is disgusting. It's been like laid out on the bed where he would sleep. He didn't put it there. So Judas wants to get rid of the suit, obviously, and the ghost. So he calls the person who sold it to him, a woman in Louisiana, and she tells him, and it's a very nasty phone call, she tells him, hey, enjoy your ghost. This is payback for, it's the stepfather of a groupie that you really hurt. She killed herself because you're, a bastard and it broke her heart, and now he's getting his revenge on you. So there's a sense of the rock star now has to have his reckoning. And the rest of the book then is kind of him kind of fighting this ghost, using the dogs to protect him. He and his girlfriend, Georgia, kind of do like a road trip, trying to escape the ghost. And it gets into like some twists and stuff, which I won't give away. I almost felt like a little disappointed with the twist, because I felt like Judas kind of needed a little more comeuppance. I don't know. as I was reading the first couple chapters and thinking about like groupies and stuff, I was just thinking about this is kind of a great setup. In fact, in my novel Black Magic, which I wrote before I ever read this, it has a similar setup about a very comfortable rock star. Like my rock star is kind of a minor rock star, but he's living a very comfortable life, who has a reckoning where he has to really look at the people that he's hurt in the past. He's lived a life where he's kind of just gone from one relationship to the other. It's like just kind of moving on, not realizing, or maybe not caring, that he hurt people and that they might come back to get revenge. So I was thinking about groupies and just what a great setup this is. I almost feel like this in real life could be even more extreme, like just thinking about Jimmy Page and like the infamous Led Zeppelin and the groupie and the sand shark, I think it was. If you don't know that story, just Google it. It's but you've been warned. It's a little stomach turning. But I was thinking about, what if the groupie and the shark like both came back for like a revenge mission, which would be kind of fun, like a groupie Sharknado or something. Anyway, the possibilities are endless. So yeah, Heart-Shaped Box. Highly recommend this book if you haven't read it yet. A lot of you have read it, but it's worth even a second read. It's really good, and definitely part of the rock and roll horror theme. So let me know in the comments below, if you read Heart-Shaped Box, what you think. If you read any other Joe Hill books that you think I should move to the top of my stack, I'll try. And also, don't forget, if you live in the United States and you want to enter the giveaway for the signed copy of Season of the Witch, write giveaway in the comments below. And I would also love to know any other rock and roll horror recommendations you might have. I would love to hear your thoughts. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for stopping by my haunted library, and I'll see you soon. Bye.